father, husband, entrepreneur, and 9 to 5.
Welcome to Side Hustle. I'm Taylor Young, the Chief Business Correspondent at Queen City News and host of the show that's dedicated to learning about all the fun and interesting ways that people are making extra money on the side. And this week's Side Hustle is all about filling a need, and that need was making friends. So I'm really excited to bring in our guest this week, Brian Kaplan. Welcome to Side Hustle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
So you are the CEO and founder of an app, Verve Athletics. And before we get into exactly what this app does, I think we have to start from the beginning because every side hustle has an origin story. You moved to Charlotte 4 years ago. And like anyone who moves to a new city, you were hoping to meet friends.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, moved here 4 years ago from DC. And I also at that time worked fully remote along with my wife. And we realized very quickly that it's just difficult to make new friends in a new city. And we also learned it's not just us in going down this journey. You know, Charlotte is an incredibly transient city with new transplants coming here every single day. And we found that other people were kind of in that same boat where you might go out and play pickleball, go out and play golf, but that doesn't always translate into a new friend. So
yeah, you're kind of just shooting your shot, hoping that this could lead to a friendship. So did you try ways of kind of meeting people, whether it was other apps that are out there?
yeah, absolutely. So there's a few. A few apps that come to mind include things like Bumble BFF, which is incredibly popular. I do think, however, that Bumble BFF is more successful for the female demographic than the male demographic. There's other apps out there like Peanut, which is for women that are expecting. My wife downloaded Peanut and actually was really successful with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then there's others like Meetup, but Meetup doesn't necessarily translate into one-on-one connections. It's more about group connections instead. So I went down each of those journeys, but ultimately none of them really resonated with me and none of them made me feel comfortable in connecting one-on-one with more people that I've never met before.
So at what point were you kind of going through the motions of trying to meet people and kind of decided, let me try to take this into my own hands?
I think it was kind of natural, to be honest, just being a product leader and an entrepreneur. Moving here, having these feelings of loneliness and doing user research and finding out that I'm not alone in feeling this loneliness and that this is more of a societal need of helping to address this is where it really clicked. There's tons of studies out there right now about how for the past 5 years in particular, the loneliness is climbing more and more, and particularly among men as well. I think actually it was a Gallup poll just a few months ago that came out that said about 18% of young Americans experience loneliness every single day. I thought that was interesting, but to take that a step further, when you look at men in particular, it jumps up to 25%. So 1 in 4 American men experience loneliness every single day. So that combined with my experiences moving to Charlotte is really what led to me wanting to design and build Verve Athletics.
Yeah, and I think there's an age element too. I think so many of us spend our whole lives in the school system. You reach adulthood and now you're kind of just thrown out there in the world, you know, include the whole moving part from different cities and Charlotte kind of being a transplant city. So yeah, I could see that being, you know, especially for men, difficult. So let's kind of get into how you came up with the concept of Verve Athletics, which is of course an app. Walk us through it.
Yeah. So VRV Athletics, how it came about, again, is just based on my own personal experience. How it works is you sign up, you create your own profile, you say what sports you like to play, you say what your skill level is at each one of those sports.
And this is your website too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. After you say what your sports are, the skill level at each one of those sports, you can then join local communities, local clubs, whether it be Mecklenburg County Golf or Charlotte Paddle Battle or Carolina Fitness Farm. And then you can grow your squad. So by growing your squad, you get to swipe on other people that are nearby based on certain filters, like the sports you play, the skill level that you're at, or the clubs that you're a part of. And that allows you to build your squad, you have your communities, and then it's all about making real world connections through real world activities.
And I think the skill level aspect of the app is interesting because I could imagine if you want to meet up with meet friends through sports, that might be something that would cause a little hesitation. Like, I don't want to meet up with people and be horrible, or the opposite. I don't want to
Absolutely.
outshine everyone where everyone thinks I'm kind of, a
Yeah.
Chad. So I think it's interesting that you included that in there. Was that kind of the goal, to make people feel more comfortable?
Absolutely. So what comes to mind for me is golf. I love golfing, but I'm also terrible at golf. For me, a good day of golf is if I lose less balls than holes that I play. That's my goal. Now, if I were to show up to TGK Golf Club and just play as a solo person, joining another foursome, and they're all scratch golfers, and I'm over here barely hitting the fairway a single time, that's not going to be a good experience for them. It's not going to be a good experience for me. And that's why we really wanted to make this as comfortable as possible for people that have never played golf before, have never played pickleball before, or if they are a college athlete, being able to set those settings as well.
What goes into creating an app? We all use apps for everything at this point in our lives. But I could imagine developing it, obviously coming up with the idea, but then making it a reality. Kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, it's a journey, that's for sure. I think first and foremost, it comes down to your team. I've heard this a bunch of times, but they say if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together, right? And that's one thing that I found to be critical when starting this app is I wanted to build a strong team. So we have folks that are leading technology, leading marketing, leading design, and we're all doing this together to work on this mission. In terms of what goes into it, I think today would be a completely different answer than when I first started going down this journey. And that's largely due to new AI tools that are coming out. We didn't leverage any of that, being that we started down this journey about a year and a half ago, I want to say. So I think now it could have been a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's a journey, and it takes everyone, not just one entrepreneur, but it takes tech, it takes marketing, it takes design, very specialized skill sets.
Yeah, I could imagine. On top of you also having a 9-to-5 job, how do you manage that?
Not just a 9-to-5 job, but also a 1-year-old at home too. So father, husband, entrepreneur, and 9-to-5. How I juggle it's not easy. It is a struggle, absolutely. But I think that what drives me the most here is the mission and the passion I have for what we're trying to build. We're not building VRV to make money. We're building VRV to help with this societal issue of loneliness, and that's what really drives me. Another piece of it too that helps me juggle my 9-to-5, my family, and work is actually something that a partner in my 9-to-5 told me a couple of years ago, and it's something that I carry with me with everything I do. He basically used a metaphor of life is all about juggling things. And at the time, he used it for work because I had gone to him saying how stressed I am with how much I have on my plate during my 9-to-5. But I translated it over to just life as a whole. He said, it's a juggling act, and everything you're juggling is a ball, and you will drop some of those balls. But the most important thing is to be able to categorize those balls as glass balls or plastic balls. And that's how I juggle my 9-to-5, my family. Verve is my family will always be a glass ball, and I will never drop it. My 9-to-5, some of it's glass, some of it's plastic. Verve is very much a plastic ball, but a ball that I'm very passionate about and I try not to drop. But it's just a balancing, juggling act with everything that I work.
That's interesting, and probably great advice for anyone who's listening because they're interested in a side hustle or have a side hustle. It's a good viewpoint to have. All right, well, on that note, we're going to take one quick break and be right back. So with every side hustle, of course, there is a money element involved in this. When we're talking about creating, developing, pushing out an app, I could imagine that it at least starts with you investing money into it. So how does that work?
Absolutely. We are bootstrapping this right now entirely. So everyone on our team has ownership, and we're all contributing based on the ownership stake that we have within the company. We are trying to today put the vast majority of the funding that we're putting into the business into a combination of marketing and operational costs. And that's actually one of the reasons why we're starting with just the Carolinas. If you were to download the app, it's only open to North Carolina and South Carolina for a reason. You know, we don't want to have, let's say, 100 users in every single state because that's not going to bring that much value to each one of those states. So we're reducing our operational costs by narrowing in on our local community. And we're focusing that money to make the most impact, which is on marketing today.
And if someone's listening who has an idea for an app, I mean, how do you make money via operating an app?
Sure. I would say it completely depends on the type of app that you're building. Absolutely. I can say for us today, we're focused on growth, not monetization. But with any business, especially one that you're funding yourself, you have to have that forward-looking outlook on how are we going to make money eventually. And the way that we see it is with the Charlotte community, North Carolina, South Carolina, I should say, we're not looking to nickel and dime and charge people for certain features. As we grow, we'll ultimately have to monetize the app to be able to keep up the operational costs. And what we're going to do there is similar to other types of connecting apps where we would monetize certain types of features. So for example, if you wanted to create a custom club that is completely private, maybe that's something that's behind a paywall. Eventually down the road, a few years from now, we do have goals to move outside of the day-to-day friendships and more into the workplace, which is something I'll just tease for right now, but we do have ambitions to move into more of an enterprise model a couple years down the road. And I believe that's what's really going to be our monetization path for the long run.
And you talked about growth. I could imagine officially launching this was a task in and of itself. But of course, with apps, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is getting people to know that it exists and to download it. So what are you guys doing to get the word out about it?
Yeah. Aside from being here today, which is very helpful, it's a combination of, I would say, a few things. One, PR, of course. We're trying to get into a few different outlets right now and get our name out there. The other one I would say is with our clubs feature. We're calling it clubs, but a club is really a community. It's a group. Anyone can create one. So we have a few partnerships in place where we've partnered with Mecklenburg County Golf Courses. We have Carolina Fitness Farm. We have Charlotte Paddle Battle. All of these businesses have created clubs to bring their customers to the Verb Athletics app. It's a win-win. They're getting more users or customers and also better communication. And we're getting more active users within the Verve app.
That also have a specific location that they can go to that they maybe have never known about before.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's one thing we love about this too, is if I am used to going to the same place to play golf every week, let's say, if I run into someone, I'm not necessarily going to connect with them and say, hey, do you want to play golf next weekend? But if we all have this one community, this one club within Verb Athletics for Mecklenburg County Golf, let's say, there's a higher likelihood of us connecting, becoming friends, and then booking another tee time at that golf course at a future date.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to take one more quick break and we'll be right back. So you officially launched this app 3 months ago. How has it been?
It has been incredibly rewarding. It came with challenges, absolutely. But I will say that there has been fewer great feelings and senses of accomplishment that I've had than when the first user that wasn't a friend of mine signed up for Verb Athletics. We've gone to the golf courses, we've gone to the pickleball courts, and we've posted up flyers, and we're talking to people about Verb Athletics. And one of the most rewarding things is hearing the passion in other people's voice when I'm telling them about our mission and they're telling us, wow, I wish I would have had this earlier.
Yeah, because it's something I feel a lot of people can relate to, the want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and I think another interesting part is you can put your age, obviously your location on this app. Have you found any kind of trend of who so far has been using the app?
Yeah. So it's been great to see that there's no single demographic that's using the app. We have folks from 18 to 55 on the app. We have male, we have female, we have close to professional athletes, and we have people that have never played a sport before, all on Verb Athletics.
The whole spectrum.
The whole spectrum. What I will say is it's been interesting to see a slightly older demographic joining VRV Athletics. I would say from like 38 to 45 is probably our largest demographic right now. And I personally think that's probably due to the emergence of pickleball. More people trying to get involved with this sport and find people that just haven't really played yet and are just beginners. I think that's a large piece of it, but across the full spectrum, but leaning a little bit on the older side for right now.
Yeah, which I find really interesting considering I feel like a lot of Gen Z and millennials kind of grew up with the apps, whether it was finding relationships or friendships. So yeah, it's interesting to see that the older community is kind of getting on board with it.
Yeah.
Do you think, kind of thinking or looking more broad scope here, do you think that finding friends digitally in the world of working from home where people are moving more, do you see that kind of part of just making friendships in the future? Or it's already here?
It is here. Yeah, I do see it, but we are also very intentional
Mhm.
with not promoting doom scrolling,
Yeah.
right? Our goal is for people to get out, to show up, and to make real world connections through real world activities. Verve Athletics or VRV Athletics is simply the mechanism for people to be able to accomplish that.
And I think what makes your app kind of stand out from ones that I've used in the past to make friendships is there's a common denominator here. It's sports, it's activity. Do you think that also makes people more comfortable to maybe hop on because there's already something that they know they're looking for?
100%. And that was very deliberate too, because from my experience in trying those apps as well, when you connect with someone, there's always that question of intent. Why did this person connect with me?
Mhm.
And you have that awkward beginning phase of where you're trying to get to know each other before you ever meet up. On Verve, if you connect with someone, you know it's because you want to play pickleball and you never played before. You are a professional golfer. You like to jog. You like to do yoga, whatever it might be. So those first questions go from, hey, how's it going? To, hey, do you want to play golf on Saturday? Is a quicker action to get out, meet in person, and have more of an active lifestyle.
And maybe makes it less awkward too, because you're going somewhere to do something potentially with a group of people too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off. So I think just from my experience speaking to people with side hustles, they seem to kind of fit in different categories. There's your crafts where people are either musicians, or there's the influencer where they enjoy doing something and say, hey, I can make money off of this. Yours is more of filling a need, which I haven't interviewed someone who's doing that as a side hustle. Any advice about, for anyone who's has a similar idea or concept, maybe not for a friendship meeting app, but in the same realm?
Yeah, I guess my advice would be to, first and foremost, not get discouraged. I have built and I have failed, and I have built and I have failed, and I have built and I have failed. With every failure, I'll say in quotes, came an incredible amount of lessons learned. And I've taken every one of those lessons learned and applied it to VRV Athletics. So I think that's the number one thing, is to not expect things to happen overnight. It is to bring people with you down this journey. It is to not be afraid to tell people about your idea. I think that's a critical piece as well. When I was younger, if I had a great idea and I thought this was a going to change the world type concept for a startup, I would want to keep it to myself and not share it. The reality is we're all very busy.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time to build businesses on the side. It's important to get that real world feedback based on what you're thinking before you actually go ahead and start building.
So don't hold it in. You think that also kind of puts pressure, exterior pressure on yourself to actually do it if you tell people?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you met people through VRV?
So we just launched it about 3 months ago. I have connected with a few folks on VRV. We have met up at Rally Pickleball, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with more folks because it is solving a need not just for society, but it's also solving one of my personal needs as well.
Wow. So kind of the big question, where do you see this going in coming years from now?
Yeah, it's I see, like I said earlier, I do see it moving towards a enterprise-wide solution years down the road. Before that, if we're talking more near term, it's about how do we make this as impactful as possible for the Carolinas? That's what we want to focus on first. Let's prove product market fit and then expand. Go to new regions, expand, go to new regions. That's the future for today. I also see more features coming down the road that are more aligned with more mental health. I think that's an important factor to Verve Athletics. It's not necessarily something that we market the app as today, but when you really think about it, the way I view mental health is your physical health plus your social health equals your mental health. And I believe we're tackling your physical health through living an active lifestyle on Verve, your social health and helping you build your squad. And ultimately, that's helping with society's mental health. So I see us moving more in that direction with keeping that as our North Star, as just trying to help in the way we can.
Is there anything about VRV that you'd want viewers to know?
I would just say that there's a tons of apps out there that want your attention. We want your involvement. We want your participation. Now at VRV Athletics, we are all about getting out, showing up, and making real life friends the old school way. And that's by playing with each other.
And I think for a lot of people, I mean, we all have apps on our phones. There's so many that I download. I maybe use once and then I kind of forget about it.
Sure.
Eventually I delete it. How are you trying to make it so that this is something that people constantly use once they do download it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's naturally going to happen in a way. And the reason why I say that is, and maybe this is just me, this is not necessarily based on user research, but I think now more than in the past, there's that awkward stage of any friendship where you ask for that other person's phone number. And I think other people would probably agree with that.
Maybe more so for men, but yeah.
Definitely more for men, 100%. And I think with VRV Athletics, being able to have your squad all in one place, and not just your squad, but the third-party connections, so squad members of other squads, and me being able to post in there for any sporting event that I ever want to plan, whether it's a 4 o'clock tea time at TKK Golf Club or if it's playing pickup basketball at the Y, right? I can just post in there saying, hey, does anyone want to join? That's like me sending a text to every single person I've ever played sports with and their friends as well.
So unlike dating apps where you meet someone and hopefully you delete the app, this is also kind of a scheduling app in the same way too. Yeah. So I can see how that could keep people from coming back. Well, thank you so much. It was so interesting learning about this.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. And I hope nothing but success and the best for VRV Athletics.
I appreciate it.
That was Side Hustle. We'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.